Welcome to the This is Dolph Chaney impromptu mess of a listening party. I'm here in the futility room in the house, and I'm so far sharing screens with Rex, Christina, and Nick. Very important parts of this process all the way through. You can sort of see way up over here the album up on drying on the laundry racks. So that's my little.
Oh yeah, there it is. Wow,
way up. This is Dolph Chaney as well.
It's just,
but that's a little bit better.
This, from my point of view, this is Dolph Chaney, and this is Dolph Chaney.
Yeah.
Nick,
this guy, and then that's
Dolph Chaney.
That's
hey Nick.
Hey, how are you?
Well, what I'm going to do first thing, we're going to get started with track one, because a very fine place to start. The album starts with the song Status Unknown, written back in 2003, I believe.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been trying to figure out what the timetable on that was.
I have my notes. Yeah. 29th of September, 2003. And so, Rex, I'll let you lead with the story on what made this song happen. Go ahead and explain a little of the backstory. It's a good way to tell how Rex and I got to know each other in the first place. So let's start there.
It is, although I mean, I'm not sure I can entirely explain it, but way back in, apparently, the early part of the century, long before Big Star Records was a thing, which has only been like the last 4 years or so. Wow. There was the internet existed in a different form in MySpace. I don't
had a MySpace.
But there were mailing lists that were fan groups for artists, and many of us those at the time on the wild, woolly frontier of the internet. And Mr. Chaney and myself and a number of our people who are our associates to this day, people who are releasing records or music on Big Star Records. We've got the Charms Against the Evil Eye over in the UK. We've got Paula Carino. We've got even Anton.
Yep.
And it's quite a few, yeah. And we had this crazy idea. This was also before file sharing was really a thing that we were going to do. There had been several CDs of this was I don't think I even said the man's name. Rob Hitchcock. Yeah. One of our list members had done several compilations of people that were on the list of doing covers of, and some of us also were songs to the best of our abilities via mail, cassettes, CDRs, and things like that. And Dalton and I certainly, shuffled these things back and forth. And I see Irene, and we got Irene, two, one Boris. In any case, some of these folks were that we do a compilation of originals, and this thing to be known as this very handcrafted, no two alike. My kids literally drew the crayon artwork on the front of it.
So great.
Thing called Tinfoil Thoughts. Don't ask. And it included that were part of the list. The cat herding as the organizational locus of this project, in terms of getting their songs together. Some people knew that some people were way through their track or whatever. I had not heard from Dolph. Status unknown, and
I took it as a dare.
Process across that became the track title, and I think there was a automatic MIDI tracks deciding. Oh, if I remember that.
Yeah, what I had was this is on the version that was on the Climbing Mountain Time album that came out in 2005 later on, but you'll hear the same thing, which is I had
that would be the more public way to find this.
Right. I had a trial version of what Cool Edit Pro became, which was an Adobe product. I had used Cool Edit Pro in a studio situation on a previous album. So and it was a trial version because it was a ridiculous amount of money. And their way of watermarking a song was to put little chimes at whatever key it decided every few seconds. And so it's there. I'm like, well, all right. This
And it
is
sounds cool. It's an arrangement, you know.
it's pleasing enough. It's chance. Robin would probably even appreciate that in the spirit of the list. And so when I came to, we actually decided, Nick and I decided to do this rather late in our choice of songs for the album. We had done maybe 9 or so, and we're trying to figure out the shape. By that point, we were trying to figure out the shape of the record. What went into what next, what made good middles, what made good endings, and what made good beginnings. We didn't really have the kind of beginning we wanted yet. And so Nick's idea was something mysterious, something to lure you in, kind of pull you in, not come out too obvious. And I'm like, I know what let's do. So I sent him the old version of it. Dug it. Do you remember what you said about the old production and in particular the chimes, Nick?
I don't recall now. What did I say?
It was this is a good song. I get what you're trying to do. I think I know what to do. Let's just ditch the Taco Bell chimes and see what happens. Yeah, and that sounds
about right.
That's about what we had. So having successfully ditched thereof with even less ado than last time. Let's see if the drifting psyche feedback and acoustic guitar introduction settles in for Status Unknown.
What do I say when I don't know what I'm asking for? And where do I go when I do? Where can I stay if there really is no 13th floor? And what do I know about you? 'Cause your cover isn't all that's blue. Status unknown. Was it my fault if the earthquake didn't register? And where do I sit and not blend? Please pass the salt, but please do not pass the edgy slur. And who gives a shit in the end? Because this sport isn't all that's wrong. Status unknown. I deny it categorically. I avoid it metaphorically. But this bull won't leave me alone. Status unknown. Who filled the tank? And why does it smell so sickly sweet? And which of you finished the wine? Who robbed the bank of the river under ebbing feet? And can I begin saving time?
is Status Unknown on the big old FM. Oh yeah. Should demonstrate something. Listen closely. Okay, just over the fade out. In Status Unknown, little part of the soup at the end is Nick treating this sound. Yeah. Yep. Ah, yes. The sausage is made out of behind the bridge picking. So I'll spoil nothing further by saying track 2 follows track 1. We thought it'd be fun. I've got taskbars a jumping and all kind of business. Hold on.
It looks very, very exciting.
It's gonna, you guys, it's gonna be so
It's gonna be-
exciting.
It is. Visually, I'm mesmerized.
I wanted you to steal my heart, you put it on layaway. I wanted an installment plan, but you got me to pay and pay. I wanted you to hold me close, but you just smile and stay away. Somehow still I wanted you. You wanted my affection, I wanted you. You laughed at my erection, I wanted you. You legalized rejection, I wanted you. I can't believe I wanted you. I wanted you to show your smile, but you'd much rather bury your fangs. I wanted to take you to dinner, you left me with hunger pangs. I wanted you to see my face, but you covered it up with bangs. Somehow still I wanted you. You wanted my convenience, I wanted you. You wanted my obedience, I wanted you. You exploited my lenience, I wanted you. I can't believe I
right. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, so it's a fairly straightforward production. All of these are all drums here. I'm playing bass on it. I played a 335 out of 335 dot. There's an Epiphone dot Jazzmaster 12 string. Dolph did the leads, I believe, right?
No. You did all the instruments on this.
Can you,
Oh, really? Okay.
Mhm.
including the drum?
Yeah. Yes. Nick specializes in drum
the
fuck.
drum fuck, definitely. It's
Yeah, trust me, man. I mean, like, so what, believe it or not, is that's a parallel send. So this is the drum bus, everything from here into this, which then has a send over to here. It's those, and then I sing over here. And it, what can I tell you? It's a fairly straightforward thing. I mean, there's not a lot of sauce on there. There's just a lot of rocking.
Yeah. And it's
I don't
great.
think
Sounds-
it's not, I mean, is this like an interactive? Can I say something about?
Yeah, man. Irene Pena, everybody.
Please.
Oh, no, don't agree to that.
No, it's a party.
I-
What? It's not a lecture. It's not a listening lecture.
It just, I mean, it builds amazing, like, you just, where it's going, you just want to rock out at the end. I don't know if it's the drums. I don't know if it's the vocals. I don't know if it's Nick. I don't know what's happening, but all I know is, you want to rock out like where it's going. So
Yeah.
thank
That's
you.
true. And
I
it's
don't know.
to let folks, and I've alluded to this a little bit when I've played it live in the last few months, but Nick heard that in the song, and I hadn't that characteristic of it was not in what I gave him. At least so what I heard. It was a more downbeat, strummy kind of mopey little song in its own form.
Well, sell it, Dolph.
Yeah, that's
But I want to chime in and say, this is a project for me. I've watched it evolve because probably the majority of these songs is lived with is, it was, and the job Nick did with it is absolutely amazing. My very ears.
Yeah, it
to the
came
side of my ear, however that works. And yeah, it was about it is having thought of these songs as things from these different places, different times and stuff, is that it levels with each other and coalescing into a whole new work that I never.
Nor did I.
In addition to just how damn good the song sound. In addition, record guys work together, so you guys are amazing. You've done something purely and personally, and definitely sounds.
I appreciate it. So Nick, what would you say about what you translated out of the demo to this version?
My mode of operation is to receive a song and then just try to imagine it I call it my mind's ear, because that's pretty much how all of this happens. It's gotta take place in my brain somewhere. And I listened to it and I think it was like, yeah, this is kind of, it's sort of sad. And it's like, no, this is not a sad song at all. This song meets that 90s, kick you straight up your ass situation. I just, we figured out that I go full force into a song arrangement and run the risk of you going, nope. And I'm fine, like, problems with nosediving badly on an arrangement and just sending you something that you're like, nope, don't like that. But I figure it's better to go ahead and just like go with my gut instinct. It's that whole like first idea, best idea. Sometimes it's not idea, but it's certainly part tends to serve me fairly well, because then I don't get caught up in a whole like, well, what would be the best way to then it? And that way nobody's worrying about it. Like it just, I can sort of cut through to what you're saying. And I mean, I try to approach music the same way as when I was teaching myself about drums. Like, why is everybody's favorite drummer Ringo? Well, because he stays out of the way of the vocal.
Yeah.
That applies to every single aspect of music production. If you are selling the vocal and you're selling the vocal performance and the lyrical content, one thing that has to happen is the band needs to support that, and it needs to get the hell out of the vocalist's way when it's time for him to sing, or her to sing, I'm sorry. It just there needs to be plenty of space for you to be that. Yes, if you were Alan Holdsworth, we're not trying to sell vocals, we're trying to doodly riffs, and that's a whole different production idea. But what we do here is you've got all these songs that, at least the way I saw it, were like, okay, I mean, I hear these songs are great, but I don't hear it reflected in these records necessarily.
Yeah.
And I wanted to really make sure that like, it would like grab people and go, listen to this guy's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. You need to like give him a fair shake, because I don't think anybody catching on here. And I figured I could insert myself into that and help you sort of just steer this ship into a very, and I'm completely astounded. I think I love this record. I really do. Like, and I work on a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah,
like
you do.
I stay pretty busy, and this is one of those records where I'm like, God, I love this record when it's on. It's really good. Like, it's sonically, it's nice. It's got all of the exciting things that I like about, 60s records and 70s records and 90s, like all of my favorite things sonically and performance wise, and, like little ideas. And I think it takes you on a nice trip from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And out just being like, Dolph Chaney's greatest hits, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. We could have done that. We thought about it, actually, but I wanted it to hang together to more like a regular album of mine, even though it was also a song anthology. So folks, you basically just heard Nick's pitch to me as a producer and partner on the record. And that's, what can you say? I knew he believed in the work. I knew he had the chops to pull off anything that I could throw at him that I could also play, so there was no worries about that. And it was time for all of the worrying and dithering over these songs had been done for 30 years, going back to the first of them that I wrote. I'm a class A worrier and ditherer. And so maybe not only taking somebody else's perspective, but taking somebody else's instinct and first approach to it, given that we have a lot of overlap in vocabulary and in background and shorthand, so that we don't have to explain something in depth because we've heard a lot of the same music. So that once we established that was going to be easy, it's like, yeah, run with it. And I don't know, we'll talk more about this the more we listen, but I didn't have you change much. It came over every time real close to what we ended up with, just refined, and we'll talk about some of the specific examples where we did a couple of passes back and forth. But so I love this record too, and for all of these same reasons. Let's get on. Time is getting a little away from us, so I'm gonna run back over and play a couple in a row. I'm gonna go into the middle of side one here and play Beat It and Cuddle Party. We'll stop after Cuddle Party because there's a good story about how we worked on that. So, okay, this is Beat It.
I wonder why the distances between have no equality. If a train leaves your side at 100 miles an hour, how fast do I have to run to meet it? And if it turns and chases me down, can I beat it? I wanna be starting something fresh, but somebody's watching me. Like a super freak show on the dance floor, I spin me round like a CD. I'm the train, come on and ride it, 100 miles an hour. Two of Hearts was winning, but you cheated. And you dropped a bomb on me and let it whip. You said, beat it.
Cuddle Party from This Is Dolph CHANEY on Big Star Records. Oh my goodness. So let's see. Let's talk a little about that, and then the next song on the album, which is what we chose for the first single. But first, Cuddle Party. I wrote 2/3 of that, and that was the song for many years. I wrote that in 04 and put it out on the Climbing Mountain Time album with just those 2 verses and choruses. It's fine, you know, but as we worked on it, Nick and I had a couple of things that we confronted on that song. One was it needed something more. Nick identified, I could really use a bridge. And so I wrote one. Took me a little bit to figure out what to do there. And then it just took us a couple of times back and forth to get the feel quite where we wanted it. And a side moment is that synth hook was played by Nick because I did a take with it on my old realistic Moog synthesizer. But it is old to the degree that it's starting to not be in tune with itself anymore. And Nick picked it right out. So we would jump the octave and it'd be so not in the good way. So Nick's like, yeah, I got this, and go get it fixed when we're in the aftertimes.
That synth is everything.
Thanks. I wrote the hook. Nick played it. It's I thought it made it.
Well, I mean, okay, your vocals are all right too. I'm just
It's
kidding.
all right.
They're very, it's so strong. But that synth is everything.
Thanks. Yeah, and that's a new addition too. That's not on the original arrangement. Like the original arrangement is just literally me and an acoustic into one microphone. Yeah, that was fun. It was fun to go full 80s on that. And yeah, Nick, what was your recollection of the back and forth there?
You know, the usual, like, I heard it and I went, oh, okay, I know what you're doing. As soon as I heard the synth intro, I was like, okay, I know exactly what he's looking for this on it. And that was pretty much it. It's just got to be like a straight ahead kind of, you know, it's 80s, but it's sort of like Weezer 80s. It's like the end of the 80s kind of in my mind.
Definitely 1988. Yeah. It was interesting with the second round of recordings on that. We'd started it, we'd gone away and done some other things while I was figuring out feel, came back to it. And it took me a couple of days to comp together a good lead vocal. And in that time, the singer Tony Lewis from the Outfield passed away. And now the Outfield's not a band you think about a ton necessarily, but you know, they were everywhere. Those especially those 2 or 3 big hits. An amazing voice, just an amazing floating high tenor, and also super tight 3-piece pop rock band. And so I'm like, you know what, I know exactly what I need to do. It's not that probably anybody would pick that out as something that sounds like him. I don't sing in that range or anything like that, but it gave me the mental approach to the song. So to me, that's like a little blooper to the Outfield. Okay, so yeah, that's that one. Go on ahead, Nick. You look like you had a last comment.
No.
I just want to say that when you guys talk back and forth, it sounds like you're over the process of recording and producing, that like you guys were speaking each other's love languages. Like, not to make it weird.
I love it.
I'm not trying to make it weird.
Let's get weird, man. It's freaking.
Yeah, I mean, let's be realistic. Making records is weird.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of like, you have to get into people's mess.
Yeah.
And you're gonna like, you have to be okay with uncomfortable is you know.
Yeah, but it seems like, well, at this point anyway, now that we're, you know, after the album is out and and amazing that it just seems like you guys were like, you know, passing love notes.
I mean, we're buds. Like, this is easy. This was easy.
This was not a painful experience at all. We
Yeah.
knew, like, I'm like, the truth is, you know, what am I going to do if I browbeat this man who I think is a brilliant songwriter, a brilliant singer, a great guitar player? Like, what's like me trying to shove my foot in it and be like, you really gotta, you know, come on, kid, you gotta give me more. You know, I'm like, that's not, I'm just gonna let him do his thing, and he lets me do my thing, and that's that. It's a fairly, I mean, it was involved, but to some degree, it was somewhat laissez-faire, where it was just like, I'll let him do his thing, he lets me do my thing, and everybody, like, you know, ultimately, he's got the first right of refusal on it. He'll be the first to hear it and go, yeah, everything but that, you know.
Yeah. I think
That's
there was
it.
only a couple of examples even of that. Like,
Yeah.
it was that simple. But yeah, when it just really flowed. It just really flowed all the way along, and I couldn't be happier with it. Cool. Well, so the next, it looks like Zoom is being generous, which is weird. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Next
Can you
up,
guys hear us
yeah.
right now? And one is to just talk up beyond necessarily here on this record. If I'm not mistaken, one of, I don't know how many that have the same title as a.
Oh, where I reuse a title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that for years. It just,
Like,
my rule is if a title has been used twice or more, then it's fair game. You know,
Yeah.
I can't go write another song called Forever in Blue Jeans until some second guy does that, and then
Right.
it's fair game, and I could do that. That's the rule.
Also,
There's a ton of those.
and you holidays as well, right? There's like a whole,
Yeah.
there's like a song for most of the major holidays and stuff.
I have almost a full calendar. Yeah, there's New Year's,
Yeah.
there's Valentine's Day, there's St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, April Fools.
Just to peek into the process. And the other thing I wanted to say about that song, which is really funny, because I lived with these folks will know that when I'm doing the press releases and putting the packages together, to do like the deepest of dives, and like with a press release that touches on the touchstones and things. Just now listening to that song, I realized that, that's like the best American Music Club song that the American Music Club put out. That's what I suddenly heard in it after having done, you know, oh, this is that. I'm like, oh, that's like, you know, Mark Eitzel getting really pissed off that he didn't write that, which
My
I think
word. I will take that to the damn.
It really just struck me that time listening to it.
Yeah, that's a superhero. That guy responded to a tweet of mine when I was geeking out about AMC's pedal steel player the other day, and I thought I was going to go flying. So I will take.
Yeah, take that one next time you listen to it. Kind of put yourself in that headspace and say you might be there.
Interesting. Wow. Well, we're at Now I Am a Man, the first single, the first song that Nick and I worked on together, actually. And talking about single releases is part of why I particularly am glad Irene's here, because Irene is the single series master for Big Stir, and just wanted to acknowledge you publicly and thank you for your help in getting that jobbed around to the stations. It's been pretty amazing the last month, the response. So in particular, kudos to you. And
I pushed buttons. Like
yeah, but you did it real good though. You pushed them real good.
I pushed those buttons.
Yeah, you know, they got all the way down there. So no, well done. You guided me through that. You had a lot of strategy and things that I hadn't considered. So just thanks for your time and effort in particular there.
You are welcome.
And somebody that I had hoped would make it, but she wasn't available to make it to our session today, also features in this song, who is Lindsay Murray from Gretchen's Wheel. She provides the tremendous backing vocals in the choruses and bridge. Nick, any comment about involving her, and anything about getting this song together before we hear it?
This was, this was the first one we started on. Lindsay is very easy to work with. We've worked together on several records. I mean, Black Box Theory was basically just the two of us.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that was in the days before I had a place to work, really. I mixed Black Box Theory in our second bedroom / storage room when we lived on in a 3-flat in Chicago.
Jeez.
And we were on the bottom floor. And then I would track drums I was in a band called Ariel, which is on Shelf Life Records, for a couple of years. And they had a rehearsal space at this giant complex in Chicago called Superior Street. And we were up on like the 3rd floor or something. And I would get up at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning because it was the only time I knew that musicians would not be awake and doing anything. And I'm a notorious, like, I wake up at 4 a.m. like clockwork every morning and then go back to sleep eventually. But I'd grab a hard drive and, bundle up and drive myself down. And I made that record on Saturday mornings, probably in about a month and a half of Saturday mornings recording between 4:30 and 7 o'clock a.m.
Jeez.
And
it's a
I would
beauty.
just send,
God.
the brilliant part about working with somebody like Lindsay is the record shows up, in your inbox and you put it on and you're like, oh, I don't need to do anything here. Like, she knows what she's on. She knows what she's doing. She knows what she's on about. I think she's a really, really brilliantly focused artist. And all I got to do is like mix it or put drums on it and mix it. And that's it. And that's just one of those things where I was like, oh, can you put those pretty vocals that you know how to do? Like, she loves doing background vocals and she does them exquisitely. And it's seemingly without effort, she practices a lot and is really an accomplished vocalist. So it was like, hey, I need you to sing some oohs and ahs on this. 8 minutes later, it's like in your box and it's done, and
And it's perfect.
So but this is a great song, and I totally relate to this song too. Like, just having I just turned 43, so like I've crossed the threshold into like, my body is a temple of refuse. So
our bodies are a blunderland.
Is it weird to say that I relate to this song? Absolutely. Like, I am a man now. I am a man. Like,
it's no, I wrote it literally. The first lines are when Jesus was my age, and it's because I wrote it when I was 33. So I was thinking of that's what made me write that line, and it come on out from there because that's when he died. And the things change, and literally again, this is one where the originally recorded version, which is the B-side of the single, the '08 version, is missing the last chorus because I hadn't written it yet. And so literally I hadn't written it yet because I hadn't yet had the medical procedure alluded to in the last chorus. And once I did, I'm like, oh, I know what rhymes with vasectomy. And with that, here is Ner I Erm a Mern.
Just let me slide. Started out lofty, but wound up a softy.
Yeah, it's Kevin.
Does that work?
Yeah, hey, my friend.
Hey, we hear you.
Yay. So I'm gonna play track 6, Meaningless, first, and then we'll come to the one that the three of us worked on together. Meaningless, what can I say about that? I wrote that in 92, then recorded it on a acoustic album in 94 called Infinity Dogs. That version was just live to DAT, and one vocal, one acoustic guitar. It's very, very simple. I was also in a band. I was living in Houston, Texas at the time. I was in a band called Port Radium. They were named after a Northwest Territories, Canada city way up there. And we used to play it as kind of a long, loud rock dirge sort of thing, inspired by, like many things are with me, by my love of Bob Mould. And so it would tend to get very long workouts with very loud, noisy electric guitars all over them. And Nick did something particularly cool, perhaps without fully recognizing all of that in its history. And I don't think I told him. And he kind of made a hybrid of those two approaches in the recording of the song that made it to This Is Dolph Chaney. And he not only did that, but he did some orchestration work, some arrangements for MIDI orchestra that was just beautiful and moody, and really did a service to the track. So I was very, very impressed. And that was the second thing that Nick and I worked on for this album. So, you know, it really, it set us up. I was very impressed.
It's a race without a course. It's a will without a force. Like the dew before the dawn. Can't we just keep hanging on and on? Let me hide inside my shell. Leave me in my private cell. Let me shrink to nothingness. I just wanna be meaningless. Strip me down from flesh to bone. Tear away till it's all undone. Rid me of this artifice. fall, the fear and the hate. Longing only for a touch. Kept this all inside too much. Let me hide inside my shell. Leave me in my private cell. Let me shrink to nothingness. I just wanna be meaningless.
With that, I'm very happy to acknowledge Kevin Robertson, who's here in the session with us to talk about his involvement in the next track, which is called Pleasant Under Glass. And Kevin, again, just thanks for being with us here at a later hour than the rest of us. You're in the future. How's it feel?
Yeah, that great guitar solo in that last one, and
Thanks
great
so
vocals
much.
as well.
We
especially that high note kind of kept going. I couldn't have done that.
well, thanks very much. That was the second one that Mr. Bertling and I worked on for the record, and again, just a proof of the variety of skills that he brings to the table, and a song that I've probably sung a million times and played a million times. So it was
That's
a nice
great.
one to
And that would be the closer if it was a record. It would be the first side kind of closer, would it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, the way the timing of it
final
works
record.
out, because it's track 6 out of 13, and it's the big long end. So we can
Nice.
think of this as the start of side 2 with Pleasant Under Glass. So yeah, Pleasant Under Glass is similar in vintage. I wrote it in 93, recorded it in the fall of that year, and that was on the first album I did under my own name. Again, just a cassette 4-track recording. More on those sessions later, but it was called Ripples. The original version of this next song is just acoustic guitar with a backward wah-wah guitar solo being obnoxious throughout the entire thing, and a toy glockenspiel track played by me as badly as possible for full primitive effect. We didn't arrange it that way for this record, did we, Mr. Bertling?
No, we I heard it, and my initial and immediate thought was it's Beatles 64. It's country Beatles.
Yeah. Yep. And I think
And
that
that was it. I just grabbed it and ran.
Yep. That I think was the right call. Once I heard the rhythm track that Nick then put together for the next one, I'm like, oh, okay, I know exactly what I need to do. So I went to all of the country leaning 1968 kind of Beatles for me. So I was thinking about Don't Pass Me By and stuff like that when I wrote out the parts for gosh, makes me sound like a proper arranger, which that's very questionable. So so then just sort of offhand, much like he did when bringing would say, hey, you think think about getting Lindsay to sing direct? Oh, Lindsay Murray from Gretchen's Wheel, only the maker of several of my most recent favorite records. Sure, we'll allow her to sing on my album, for God's sake. Same thing was my reaction here when he said, see if Kevin and Scott from the Vapour Trails want to do anything for this song. I was like, yes, please, God. So I was very happy when indeed you did contribute something. Shall we? You want to talk first or listen first?
Listen first, over.
Very good. So with that,
Tiddlywinks.
Pleasant Under Glass.
This view is getting too familiar. I'm in this dome and I won't be getting out until your insatiable fork is my divisor. Am I your meal or am I just another appetizer? Every night I wait with all my ever-present schemes of hate. The fruitless hours pass. Oh, life is never pleasant under glass. You're trying to lock in all the passion. You don't know about the dreams of happiness you're smashing. Your greed's derailing my desire. You're blowing out the candles and you're blowing out my tires. Every night I wait and like a clever peasant contemplate. Fruitless hours pass. Oh, life is never pleasant under glass. You take my breath away, but I feel like death today. Let me make one request. Please let me get some rest. You're looking at me like I'm misguided. But what's the use of love if give and take is all one-sided? It's not that I don't want your attention. I just need a little bit of breathing room to ease the tension. You understand me now. And you were getting tired anyhow. So into sleep we pass. Our lives become more pleasant under glass.
Pleasant Under Glass. Hooray. So let's talk about it. Kevin, let me just ask, when you received it, how much did Nick give you? And talk about working on this with Scott as well, trying to juggle any logistics around that, given 2020 being 2020.
First of all, it's a great song, isn't it? It's
Thanks.
it's a beauty. So the first thing you don't want to do is ruin it. You know what I mean? So you get this song, you think that's a great song. So you don't want to add too much, too little. You don't want to, you know, take anything away from the song. So all we tried to do was kind of, you know, add that little Beatles thing, and almost we sound, when I'm listening to that, we kind of sound like girls a little bit, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it's Motown.
You know, it's got this
I love that.
angelic kind of thing going on. And
Yeah.
the one thing Scott and I can do pretty well is sing together, you know. So we
Oh,
kind of added the main vocalist and then that kind of background stuff. I think it's perfect. And
Yeah.
as regards, you know, logistics, we were doing a lot of things at the time, but, you know, it was a pleasure to do. You know what I mean? It was working with yourself and Nick as well is great. So it was just perfect, really. It's a really good song, and we were quite happy to add to it.
I am so glad you did. It was very easy, and I'm paying that forward a bit too. I'm having the opportunity to send some tracks around to some people. I've added a feature on something from Speed of Sound, and certainly our Arm Wars friends have tipped me for several little guest shots that have come out in the last little bit, and that's been a real pleasure. So I know what you mean. It's fun to fly in and just hear something good and say, I have this that I can put into this, and you know,
Yeah.
just get it. Otherwise, get out of the way of the track.
It's, I mean, it is great working in other people's songs, but you do have that thought process. You start thinking, what I said at the beginning there, you know, you just don't want to ruin a track.
Yeah.
You don't want to ruin it. Because it is, you can't, people do it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think Nick would have allowed us to do that, though.
Well, this is the other thing. We have a very strong editor and producer in the room who was not going to let something get in there that didn't work, or would find a way to mutate something if it almost worked. And so
I mute it entirely.
Yeah, that too. And believe me, there's some things I did on this record that you're not hearing for good reason, because he found them. But yeah, the pleasure's all mine. It was just great having you fellas on, and it was fun too, because the sessions for this album overlapped with the sessions for a little thing called Dr. Barnes is the Village Green Rehabilitation Society or Reproduction Society. I forget what the R is.
Rehabilitation, I like that.
That happened, that involved Nick and Kevin and Scott last year. One of the most fun of several covers projects that erupted during the downtime of last year. So that was fun to hear, because I got to hear some rough early versions of that too, and that was exciting to watch happen.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Mr. Bertling, anything to add here on Pleasant?
Once I'd gotten the arrangement hammered out, you know, I knew it was just a matter of, like, you know, send it back to you and give me your full Harrison on it, you know, and when I send it to Kev and Scott, like, I trust those guys, man. They know what's cool.
Yeah. It's not a worry.
The best thing is work, especially if you can work with like-minded people who know, like, I know what these guys do is fantastic on their stuff, and I know they won't shit it up. You know, they're not going to like send me back a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Like, those guys don't ever send me crap. They send me great songs.
How. Yeah.
That's, you know, it's really that easy. It's just like having people understand, like, you know, having enough of an understanding of where you're coming from to be able to add something to what you're doing, and it doesn't get in the way, because they know better. They know what's cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, I love working with those guys, and they do great stuff. And, you know, it's been nothing but my pleasure doing those records, because it doesn't feel like work. It's just like, oh, this is just a bit of organization, and, you know, like, is this what you're looking for? And done. We don't. I mean, the Dr. Barnes thing was like my, hey, what, you know, I literally had just finished mixing their second album
Right.
and
right. Golden
my
Sunshine, which is so
solo
good.
album,
Mhm.
my
Yeah,
last
Green
solo
Rose.
album. And it was like lockdown is still in full effect. And I'm just like, do you have anything to do right now? I'm bored. I just threw out like I think my two, what were my two suggestions? Let's do all of McCartney 1, or
Yeah.
let's do the Kinks Village Green album. And we're like, oh yeah, let's do that. And then we started working on it. We're like, ah, fuck, man, this thing's like 15 songs long.
It's a lot. It's no small order because
Yeah,
there's so many
long.
songs.
And I mean, what you were just saying, Nick, too, about like, you know, that's one of my top 10 records as well, that tackled. And that shorthand thing that applies to what Dolph did for us during this. Was really easy for me to just be like, all right, so this is your Bob Mould on this one, your Kevin Shields on this one, and we just need some Eno shit on the, and we all know what we're in a way, but we get there, and yeah, it's not work, you know. It was really fun having Dolph dial in stuff for us.
Yeah, man, it's true playing,
like,
you know, in all the senses. Like, it's just, this is, if it's not fun by now, good God, what are we doing? You know, like it better be fun. So
I mean,
I'll say a little about the next song, and in that, from those same sessions that Pleasant Under Glass came from, this next one is called Sideless World, and the vocal and guitar parts on it are from those old tapes, literally those old tapes. I sent Nick the raw tracks off of the cassette, and then he overdubbed the great Melantroni keyboards that you hear here. So I'll play this, and we will take it from there into the next song, which is called My Good Twin.
My mind is diving. I break the surface, never arriving. Focus on the purpose. Tension bows before its maker and flows away in shame. Nerves returning to their homes. Feel my skin fill up with gently rolling waves of quiet. I see a sideless world. I keep descending, but now through layers unending. Focus on rebirth. Hopelessness yields itself to reason and takes a holiday. Nerves returning to their homes.
All right, that's my good twin. Again, one
That's
where I had a little mope on the old version, and Nick found the rock and roll in it. So yeah, what would you say about?
It just seemed like an obvious rocker to me. I mean, that's all I can really say about it. And we were coming out of a really deep one, so we needed to have something that was like, shake you back into being again.
Yeah, agreed. It's the perfect head snap back awake. I love that transition a whole lot. So that was a lot of fun to cut. Guitar solo wise, I played that solo. I double tracked over that. That is 2 takes, which you can tell if you listen closely because it's not exactly the same. In doing my very best Elliot Easton attempt, because I know it's a classic old technique of his, and because he's him, he can do it in a way that it just sounds like it's one played in stereo. But I had a really good time doing that, and it also you could think of it, if you were being super pretentious, as one of those solos is the good twin. I'll let you pick which one.
And that one, Carl Caffarelli picked from the record. So
yeah,
that's it.
I'm happy he's been really vocal about it, and there've been others. It's been really fun when we put out Rebuilding Permit in 2020. One of the things we did, because people were still getting to know me, like even in our little niche, and so I picked out a song per DJ that I thought would enjoy that particular song and sent them out as sneak peeks, and that was fun in that way. What was fun about this process is watching people pick out their own, and like Carl really gravitates to my good twin, and so I want to thank Carl and Dana at Spark in Syracuse. So, well, let's see. Hey Irene, how you doing?
Costume change.
Yeah, no, we all had to do. Nick had to do dishes. I had to take the dog out, and so here we are for the last bit of the album.
Oh, you took the dogs out. No, wait.
Who took the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Indeed.
Who?
I have to let the dog in.
Christina has to let the dog in.
Oh gosh.
Indeed.
All the answers are here.
Yeah, and this is so informative. This is gonna be
dog in.
This is gonna go viral.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can you lose, really?
I mean, how can you not? Okay,
What did
so
I miss? I'm sorry.
Oh, not much. We were literally just talking about the various chores we needed to do. The fact that all of us with our fashion eyewear are in the bifocals progressives stage of our life. And then we took it from there to talking about the former occupant at 1600 who had badly imbalanced the scales of justice, and just like that, track number 10 on This is Dolph Chaney.
This is the
segue.
Yeah, this is the segue. And this one is another that I wrote in nice mandalorific. I wrote this in Houston when I was in college in 95, and I played this out a couple of times, but my band broke up by the time that we could really do a number on it. I recorded it for a really small cassette project that I never even tried to sell, really, called Humbug Glory. And I always thought this one needed more, and Nick gave it more. What do you want to say about scales, Nick?
Scales. You know what? I got to hear it first, probably.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so with that,
I got a brain like a steel sieve.
Yep. I got one of those. Sometimes I forget to even put that on.
I got a steel sieve like a brain, so that's cool.
Squishy scales.
Diving down the street from you, I hit the water and forget what I should do. I swallow chlorine as I say, I wish these water wings could help me fly away. Help me see the things I ought to be. Balance the scales on my eyes. Help my mind to quit reminding me. The pool can't wash away these lies. I'm caked with mud pies and I scream until my throat gives out. I forget to dream. I'm disconnected from this line. I can't remember, but at least I know it's mine. Help me see the things I ought to be. Balance the scales on my eyes. Help my mind to quit reminding me. The pool can't wash away these lies. Now I remember what you said. Now if I just could keep it in my head. Now I've already let it slip. Now I take off my shirt and grab the web. I've dug about half of this hole, and when it's finished, I'll relinquish all control. My shovel is the ace of spades. It once was black and white, now into gray fades. Help me see the things I ought to be. Balance the scales of my eyes. Help my mind to quit reminding me. Pool can't wash away these lies, but I need to wash away these lies. How can I wash away these lies?
Nice. Scales. Right.
Those freaking vocals.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's part of, it's one of those things when you write something that Rex called one of these things out to me about one of my older songs a long time ago, is that his feedback to me was, okay, that sounds like something you were born to sing. And I think every singer kind of has a few of those in their catalog where it hits all of the good spots in one's range and the emotion is easy for that singer to connect to. And this is one of those for me. Like, so it was a real, I wanted this one heard. Once the germ of the idea around this album was that we were gonna hit on songs that didn't get a properly made version before, this was a very high priority for me to get right. So We
Well
did.
done.
Thanks. It did take us a couple of go rounds. I wrote the intro as a finger picked guitar thing, and I'm about 20% getting it right. It's not that it's hard if your fingers are smaller than mine, but it's a tricky one, and so
I don't
Nick
know
did
what you're
those.
talking about.
He did the smart thing and took it to keyboard, and it sounds really cool that way. Take it from there, Nick. What was your approach to that?
Well, I mean, the obvious being the fact that it's a really, really strong vocal. So my immediate thought was I need to make sure that that's supported by the instrumentation. Like you can't wimp out on it or it doesn't make any sense. Like this is, like you're giving it the gusto, baby. You got your foot on the gas and, there's no messing around here. So it's like, well, I gotta, I'm going to have to give it the full Monty on here.
Yeah.
Does
The
that
other,
include the wailing solo too?
I think I did that one after the fact. Sometimes I would send Nick. I always sent Nick a vocal and rhythm guitar as a sketch. To let him figure out the chords. I think I only fed chords really early on in the process because he got used to some of the weird shapes that I use pretty quickly. So I'd always send him that, and I sent a solo, if not that solo, before he started building up the rest of the arrangement. I think I'm thinking back, I recut that after I had the bed to work with, but yeah.
This brings me to a thought that I had, and this is going a little bit out of the way, but my big thing with 90s Matthew Sweet records,
Mm-hmm.
Dolph knows how to do that thing where he'll play an impassioned solo, but maybe doesn't have quite the all of the facility to be able to get his idea into the solo, which to me was the complete opposite of what Ivan Julian would do on those solos, where that guy would he had more facility than he knew what to do with.
He's pretty gifted.
Ideas.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he would just endlessly fucking wank. And I'm just like, that's the reason I did a cover on that Futureman thing of
oh, right.
Ultra Sweet.
That's before I was in the scene, but I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't even remember what that song's called. But I had Max Muller from Love Nut do the solos on it because I said, "Hey Max, what the fuck is up with this song? It's just Ivan Julian taking a shit all over it."
He's gonna be so mad, Ivan Julian.
That's we can't, can't ask him to play on anything now.
No, sorry.
Or shit on his
But I just couldn't understand. Well, I understand why. It's called cocaine. And when that's how that works. But we're past all of that. We're beyond those days now. And I love the fact that Dolph will approach it from the other side where he's got great ideas, but maybe just doesn't have quite the facility to he's never going to turn in some Steve Vai solo to me. It's all heartfelt, it's gut bucket, I'm giving you the best I got. And I would rather take that any day over, somebody who's got more facility than they know what to do with than just wank forever. And, I will always respect that. I love the fact that you're just dangerous enough to be wild. You know what I mean? And that that's what songs need. Sometimes songs need to be nicely constructed and,
sure.
and good, really stitched together. But if you're rocking, there's nothing wrong with some bum notes in a solo. Everybody, I know what you meant. Everybody knows what you meant.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah. I mean, I like a lot of things that are like a lot of types of music that are played perfectly by virtuosi, and that ain't me. And if you're
We are
coming
who
to,
we are at this point.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you're coming to one of my records looking for that, you're gonna have a bad time. Like,
Well,
it's
yeah.
just, there's other things in the world. Go listen to them. Like, that's not what you should come here for.
Yeah,
Well,
one
Joe
thing that-
Satriani could play it, but he can't write that song.
Yeah.
Right, and there's a thing too where, like, you know, a lot of my favorite players are the ones who there's a continuity between their playing and their vocals.
Yeah,
like
that's a good
and,
point.
I mean, like, you probably just maybe starting with Neil Young and then taking it on down the line, but
Mhm.
like, the guy is singing in this certain way and he stops singing and he starts playing his guitar, and it's essentially the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
with in a different registers. And those are some of my favorite players, where they have a really distinctive voice that's maybe not the best voice, and they have a really distinctive guitar playing, and it's not the shreddiest or techiest thing, but it is consistently unmistakable for anyone but them.
Yeah.
And in service of the songs that are going to come out of their minds. This thing and this thing, you know, they're part of it along with the song, and like, you can't really imagine it any other way.
Yeah, I think of myself as a melodist, like
There
more
you
than anything else. And whatever instrument you give me, I'll be a little better at one instrument over the other, but basically what you're going to get is the same way of thinking and approaching a melodic part or a counterpoint, even if it's a solo like that one, or like the one in Meaningless, where there's a lot of schmear and a lot of effect and all of that. It's still connective tissue to get from one phrase to another, or at most, if there's a noise, then there's a reason for the noise. At least in my head, there's a reason for there to be that mess in that moment. And so there's an arc, speaking of Neil Young. And
Can I shift gears, sort of? Like, how does this translate for you when you do your live streams?
so
Of
it's a
course
good question. For one thing, it helps that even in bands, most of the time I was the only guitar player in the band. I did a lot of trio work, so it would be me, bass, and drums. And so I do play a lot of rhythm guitar. I learned a lot of tricks from guys who were the only guitar player in their band. So a lot of my approach to rhythm guitar is Pete Townsend, or it's Bob Mould in trio form, or it's Joe Walsh, or, you know, it's guys it's Alex Lifeson and Rush, even though, you know, again, like I could do that stuff, but where you're kind of playing a little bit more to not so much fill space as suggest enough of the song to the listener that they can stay up on it. And so when I play solos in the live streams, I'm trying to, I've developed a way of thinking back to, okay, if I just keep playing single notes for the next 20 seconds, nobody's going to know where we are. That's
a challenge.
There's no beat, you know, there's nobody playing chords. I don't know how, you know, so my attempt in those situations is to suggest enough, maybe to play a mini chord between solo phrases, so that, okay, people, this is the chord that it changed to, and now I'm going to do the next couple of bars in that. Just enough to where everybody in the room knows kind of where we are and can follow it till we get back to the song part. And
you're very successful at that. It's amazing. It's a really, it's a challenging thing to do.
It's a challenging thing to do. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And, you know, you've always been pretty damn good at it, but over the course of doing those live streams and things like that, you know, from month to month, you just come in, hey, I know exactly where we are. You know,
That's
even though
good.
it's just a giant bend that, like, out of context would be a giant bend, but
Just
you know where we are in the song because of the way you've done that. It's really cool.
I appreciate that. It's a big compliment. Something I try to get right, and I think got easier with more practice. And it speaks to another thing that was great about this process, because the timing kept going back and forth between working on the album through the week, and then I'd have a show to prepare for as well. Because my chops were better than they had been in years past when I went years between gigs. So I was very well prepared. And because I was not repeating sets, I was doing sets so often in the live streams that, it's a big enough ask to ask somebody to come back week over week to see the same person play a show. But certainly you don't want to make them very repetitive one week to the next. So I was really trying to go back and unearth other songs that I hadn't played, whether they were of mine or covers or whatever. And then that kept informing what we would pick for the record. Because something would come up. I think Meaningless was an example early on, but we did cut that pretty early in the process. Pleasant Under Glass surprised me when we went back to it, and I played it, and I thought, this is a better song than I remembered it being, and you don't know if you still connect to who you were when you were 20 and you wrote a thing like that. So I played it. It's like, yeah, this feels all right. This doesn't feel like I'm putting on a shirt 3 sizes too small. It feels okay. And so then I'd bring it to Nick, say, this felt good in the last gig. What do you think? And then we'd work it over. So they fed each other, it just really each enhanced the other. It was great.
Yeah, it's a unique thing from, most people weren't gigging a lot during the time when you were making this record. So you were undergoing a different kind of, also did have that retrospective thing to it. So I think almost, the record's almost defined by those gigs.
Yeah, I agree. Between
being in fighting trim in a way a lot of people weren't, and the fact that you're diving into your catalog. I mean, that's the record right there. It almost dictated it in that sense.
Combine that with me opening the door and letting in my new friends and getting their take on it to add the third dimension to what we were doing. Those are the elements of the story here. And I think that's, again, a bitchin' segue to the next song, because again, this is a very old song. The oldest one on the record. I wrote it when I was 18 years, 1 month old, in the fall of 1991.
My children are both older than you are.
Yeah, nuts.
Both of my kids are older than that.
Yeah, it's wild. This song, but I'd been writing for about 4 years and playing guitar for about 5 when I wrote this. And it's definitely the first remotely mature kind of grown up song that would hold up. Anything older than this would be pretty weak by its standard. It was a leap. And I recorded it twice before while I was in Houston on both Ripples, in a 4-track kind of mixed instrumentation version, and then acoustically on Infinity Dogs, which was the next year. And they both had a similar rhythm feel, kind of a rolling acoustic guitar feel to them. I wanted to bring it to this record. I gave Nick a demo that was that way. It was fine, but it was kind of, I wasn't feeling it as strongly as I hoped I would. Nick took it away, and do you remember the pitch back to me? Do you remember what you said back to me about Under the Overpass when I threw it at you?
No.
It's fine. It's been a long time, and I didn't have you study. So I sent this strummy acoustic guitar thing, and Nick was like, "All right, hear me out. This isn't a guitar song. Here you go." And he sent me this great, soulful, electric piano driven version of the track, and I'm like, yep, I would not have thought of it, but
it didn't make it on its own, you know. So I tried something, and I think this ended up being a stronger presentation of this song.
Yeah, I really love the way that it came out, and I couldn't have asked you to do it. I couldn't have predicted that it would be like that. And well, here's Under the Overpass, folks.
Across the map, I turn a chapter in my heart. The page so brown leaves me dumbfounded at the start. A time of peace and grand release may never come. I know, but then, now and again, I need someone. But it's all too late. Untie the hands of fate, my love. Pavement's broken glass under the overpass, my love. A futile show of faith, I know, that's okay. I must believe that I can give and receive myself back anyway. The breeze so bold it cuts with cold through flesh and bone, and all I see is you and me when I'm alone. But it's all too late. Untie the hands of fate, my love. The pavement's broken glass under the overpass, my love. River runs, and still the sun will rise and set. A soothing thought, and I am not forsaken yet. Too many times I draw the lines that hinder me. But now and then I smile within our memory. Is it still too late? Untie the hands of fate, my love. We could be free at last under the
Oh man, that's a sweet one. Just so happy with how that arrangement came out. So, and I must say that guitar solo. Thanks, Nick.
Was that me?
Yeah, you played that one. All I played on that track was the bass line.
Yes, and it's what you played on bass is perfect, and I mean, obviously your vocal is amazing on that.
Again, I've
And
probably never
all I
sung
gotta do
another
is-
song more times than I've sung that one in my life, being as old as it is. And
but you brought it, like, you sell that vocal so well. I mean, there's no, it sounds completely natural and not, stitched together in any way. Like,
I appreciate it. It's again, it's one I'm happy to get some more ears on. Let's I don't know, let's get that in a deep romantic movie of some kind, shall we?
no kidding, right?
Yeah, I really want, that's all my professional ambition anymore. Is just sync placement so that I can go buy the town or whatever. Like that's it. That's all I want. Just to get sell cornflakes or whatever. Let's just make that happen. I don't need to play Wembley. I don't need to play the Super Bowl halftime show.
We're working on it.
I know you are. I appreciate it. I will start up the last two songs of the album, which are Worship Song and Graveyard Shift.
Not a good Christian, that's what my friends say. I could only sing of your love till maybe Wednesday. I don't know why I don't know what I still don't know. But I know that I know no way without you. Jesus, I'm a dumbass, please forgive me. Jesus, I'm a dumbass, I'm so wrong. Jesus, I'm a dumbass, can you love me? Jesus, I'm a dumbass, hear my song. Child, I'm getting bored with all the same old. Your self-hatred makes your heart and brain cold. You don't know why you don't know what you still don't know. But I know that I know a heart that's true. Dumbass, I am Jesus, I forgive you. Dumbass, I am Jesus, hear me soon. Dumbass, I am
Anybody want to ask me any questions about Worship Song or Graveyard Shift before we go?
I do.
Uh-huh.
Tell me about Worship Song.
Let's see what's to be said, because there's a million things to say. So my dad, my late father, was a Southern Baptist minister. I grew up in that church. And you know, it would be very easy to listen to that or read that and think, oh, well, he's just another rock guy ragging on religion. And it's more specific than that. I wrote that coming out of a particular kind of church situation that got to be kind of performative for its own sake. In other words, people were kind of trying to subconsciously or not out worship each other. It got a little bit competitive. People were really trying to feel it more than the next guy. And that is trash. And completely not the point of any spiritual practice ever. And so this was written initially as a snide reaction to that and kind of saying that's not what it's about. But it also mutated into something that's kind of a truth of if you take at least Protestant Christianity at its word of it's just you and God doing the thing and nobody's in between it. And it's a quote unquote personal relationship. If you really have an intimate personal relationship with somebody, you're not afraid to nudge them a little bit, to say the unpleasant thing in order to reestablish intimacy. And why wouldn't a God in that scenario be that same way if we're really believing that? I'm not a church person anymore. And I think still this works for me in that way. So that's what I would say about Worship Song. It probably means 10 different things depending on the day, but that's what I was coming out of it with. I don't know how that makes sense to anybody else.
And then I take it on to Graveyard Shift?
Yeah.
Because it feels, and this is a question for you and Nick before we listen maybe to the run-up, that feels bookendy to me. And I know you guys put a lot of thought into the sequencing as you were creating these things. And there's definitely a feeling for me about how, Status Unknown brings us in, where the sort of rockers and the whimsy kind of sit next to each other, and the big epic moments to me. That one, it has somewhat of the same production feel as the opening, but it definitely has a sort of I guess it's, if it's called Graveyard Shift, elegy, say it's elegiac or elegiac. How do you pronounce that word?
Elegiac, I think, is the way I usually say it, right or wrong.
Okay, so I'm from now on, it's the Dolph Chaney pronunciation. But it has that, and not that it's funereal or it's got its hopeful elements, but it feels like an album closer. And I wondered at what point you guys knew that.
Graveyard Shift, we tracked that kind of in the middle of everything else, as I recall, like 5th or 6th, I would say. We'd done a few and we did several afterward. Whether I communicated this to Nick or not, in my head, it was a good idea as a potential closer. It feels like closing credits to me. And that's even just the song before Nick produced it. Because the original, again, was a very simple take on it in 2008 on the Gumshoe Koala album of just one acoustic guitar and vocals. So it's still, the mood of the song is very small and kind of felt like it was an intimate kind of closing after a big set of scenes before it. And all the more so than when Nick brought all of that wonderful echo and ambience, and especially the long tail of it to that song. Kind of once I got that back from him, I'm like, well, I don't see another way to close the record. And we were only half done. What were your feelings about it?
It's the same sort of thing. It's like you could sort of see just from the way it was constructed that it sort of drives out of the frame.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where else can you go from there, really?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we took. I really love when we get to take a holistic approach to album construction as a whole.
Yeah.
Because that means so much to me as a child of like, you know, young stoner parents who listen to all kinds of music all the time, and it was just like, that's what this is all about. If you're going to put on a record, like it should be a big deal.
Yeah.
Like you're taking the time to sit down and put your headphones on, or like smash speakers in front of you, or like sit down and really enjoy the thing. And I love the fact that, you know, we got this to structure this album that way, and let it have its own arc and its own flow. I'm by no means am I somebody who could, like, you know, put together a screenplay or anything like that, but I certainly know I know a nice trip when I see one, and I'm like, you gotta give everybody a little bit up and down. You gotta do it side to side. You know what I mean? Like
I do. Yeah, all of my favorite albums do that, and even working alone, I would try to do that, but I think we really got that right here. That's a pretty good way to end, is the ending. just want to thank everybody for hanging out and for watching back if you're watching it later. This is Dolph Chaney and Nick Bertling and Big Stir and special guest Kevin Robertson, and in absentia special guest Lindsay Murray. And just thanks so much. Thank you all very much for watching this session and y'all who have been here. Thanks so much, guys. This is really fun for me. Of course, it's my ego trip, but I hope it's fun for everybody.
Hey, it's going. Christina's adjusting a light right now.
They're peasants.
We are. Yeah. I think it's fine.
That's good. It brings out the other purple out from the other. That's good.
Yeah, there's a report. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we do? Okay, recording started. Good.
Oh boy.
First question. If it works, then I'll take it down and before to see
That's good.
Hi! How's it going?
Good. See that?
Okay, and people will have to know about their own camera situations. I couldn't restrict very much at my level. But I did do some testing with Nick. I know he's on his way. But I see Boris. Hi, buddy. Okay.
Hey, Boris. We sort of see.
I see him in chat. There we go. Yeah, Nick's gonna do some fun stuff with showing some of the session files as well. There's two Nicks, but we see them both. Hey, buddy. You'll hear it. There he is. Yay! Hey.
I got
What's happening?
Well, with this, so this will be a two-part situation. What I'm going to do, first things first, so it's the first thing in chat that I put. I'm going to drop the link to Side 2's session. It should show up. So in case Zoom might give us a break and let us go beyond the 40 minute. If they don't, this will at least give us
random.
Yeah, this will let us pick up from there. So, all right. Well,
I'm going to yet another.
Oh yeah.
Nick's.
I'm doing a few drum tracks for him on his next record.
I know you're working on it right now. It's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, the crossover is ridiculous. That was great.
That's
About
great.
that research like 3 times.
We're stronger together.
That's what we always say. That would be our catchphrase if we didn't have 3 other ones.
You can never have too many. Well, I'm back. Things are sounding a little bit better. Gotten a little chewy on me visually. So now I'm going to resume sharing the big epic guitar solo in Meaningless.
Hey,
This is tremendous. How you doing? Thanks for your patience. I know it's, first of all, 6 hours.
Technology got my name.
Nah. Too busy being a good artist. Yeah, sorry, it's all good.
Oh, me? I was probably bullshit.
Fair enough.
Well, it was nonsense.
We speak nonsense. Well, hey. Yeah. Hey, buddy.
sorry, I was just finishing up the dishes.
No, I got you. I had to take the dog out. It's life.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. I've just done another share of this, which is part 3 out of 2.
Okay. Yep.
A little bit of weird audio fritzing on my side that came and went. And I would have recorded better than that. Just a bit my drivers doing something.
Well, I mean, especially with if you're, are you gonna edit it before you re-upload it or no?
Yeah, it's coming down as an MP4, and I'm gonna cut together and bridge things. And if there's bad playback on a song, then I'll just use the real track. There's
Yeah, just drop the audio in.
all the Woohoo! Rock chores. You gotta do. You want to eat off dishes, you gotta wash.
Right. I mean, we have a dishwasher, but like, you know, there's a ton of things you can't put in there,
Oh,
like giant cutting. That's why I'm putting it one in.
yeah. No, I mean, I've never been able to pan everything clean up. Dishes. You gotta wash the dish before you wash the dish. Hey Rex. Let's see. Have you muted? There you go. All right. So yeah, hopefully, yeah. Nick and I had to go do did a couple of chores. Oh, and Christina is incognito. Interesting that word showing up in the two of you. That's going to become interesting in a little bit.
You'll see. My transitions, I was outside.
I'm about to my next year. I'm entering the time-honored Chaney tradition of eating bifocals, and so that's probably whenever I
Yeah.
like my second. I think this is my second or third go round of bifocals.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I have progressives. It's 3 levels of sight.
Right on. That's my mom.
Their progressives are much better than conservative classics.
Well, I always, oddly enough,
Obvious reason.
I got these back